Welcome to Creative Piecemeal Podcast, a podcast for creatives. I'm your host, Tammy Takeishi. Join me for compelling conversations with artists, actors, authors, musicians, and other creatives about the impact of the creative and fine arts in their lives and our ever-changing world. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creative Piecemeal Podcast. I'm your host, Tammy. Today I am with Karette Stensæth, music therapist. She is a professor and director at the Center for Research in Music and Health at the Norwegian Academy of Music. And I'm so excited to welcome her to the show. Hello.
Hello, Tammy.
Great to have you here.
Oh, it's great to be here, Tammy. Long time since last time we saw each other.
It has been a little while. It has. You know, last time I saw you, you were involved in a lot of other music therapy projects and research. But can you tell me a little bit about what is going on now, what you're doing now?
Yes, back then it was technology and the design of new homes and designing new homes as digital environments, and then how to use music in those environments. Now it's something else. It's about dementia, and it's a huge project, international project. It's a huge RCT where we compare music interventions with reading interventions and a control group among people and families, or actually a couple living at home where the caregiver delivers the interventions. And the interventions are supervised and trained by trained music therapists who are actually skilled in the area. It's a very exciting project, and there are 5 countries involved. And so it's Australia and the UK, Germany, Poland, and Norway. And we hope that this project will have an effect, or of course we want it to have an effect, but that it will have a value for the potential, for the future for people living with dementia. And as you know, they will be doubled in 15 to 20 years' time. So it's really the big public health threat of the world today. So if we could, do something for the people living at home before they get too ill, that would mean something in a big perspective. And we hope to come to that conclusion and also be able to prove that especially the music therapists are needed in this field.
That sounds like really wonderful, meaningful work.
It is meaningful. And I am not very skilled within the dementia area, but I'm really learning so much about it now. And I feel that the people living with dementia at home, they're my new heroes. They're really, it's so hard for them, just being old and also having to cope with this illness and their whole identities as people and as couples, and also very much left alone with themselves. And now with the pandemic, that has doubled the whole isolation danger or threat and everything that comes with it. So it's been especially meaningful during the pandemic to be involved with this project and with these people.
Oh, of course. How long is this study going to go? Is it a longitudinal study?
It's a 3-year-long study. And so we're just going very broad. We're going to have about 500 couples across all these countries. And so we hope to collect enough participants to be able to prove what we're looking for.
Great. Well, I wish you all the best in that.
Thank you. We need that. It's difficult. The times are difficult with the pandemic and everything. So, but it's going well.
That's good. Well, we're going to sort of backtrack here and start at the beginning of your career. And I was wondering, who or what inspired you to become a music therapist?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I never planned to become a music therapist. I grew up in a little village in Norway on the west coast. And in that valley, I think the whole culture was infiltrated, or how do you say, was kind of the whole community was being musical and getting engaged in musical activities was part of growing up there. So being musical and attending musical activities, arranging concerts and rehearsals, everything was part of growing up there. So for me, I was quite involved in that. So I was just, studying music afterwards. That seemed to be the route for me to go. And after the high school, I went into college and studied music. And then I found out that practicing and being in those types of musical environments on a higher level, they were quite elitistic. And I wasn't so much comfortable with that. And it was quite different from, being in a community where everything was just being musical and being part of the community. Now you had to compete in music. And I felt kind of, this is not going in the direction that I wanted. Just as a coincidence, I think I came across a little note that said music therapy. And I just started to look into that. And I found out that was probably going to be something for me. So then I started planning my career from that note, I think. So after music, I went into education and collected some years of school that we have to have in Norway before you can start the music therapy program. And then I entered the music therapy program. So it kind of coincidentally, I think.
Nice. And then, as they say, the rest is history, right?
The rest is future, I think, because now, especially in the European and Nordic countries, music therapy is really growing and gaining a lot of positive status. So I feel that after the first years in music therapy, now that I'm the head of the Center for Research in Music Health in Oslo, everything is just exploding here in terms of music therapy. Just recently we were defined by our state as a very critical profession during the pandemic. So we got extra places for the students because of that, because the state said you're especially needed now during the pandemic. So I think everything is in the future now, but for me, yes, everything is history.
That's fantastic though. And, I've always really admired the music therapy programs in your country and overseas, and how they wonderfully complement each other across the globe, and learning from other music therapists.
I think you're right about that. I think it's wonderful to be a part of that large international community. And I think we are kind of in a profession where we still can do that and still feel the international community. Although there are different cultures around in the different music therapy programs, I think we're still kind of a very big family still.
Yes, it certainly feels like it, a big family, lots of differences and lots of similarities, but it's just a beautiful thing.
Yes, I think so too.
If you could play any other instrument besides the ones that you already do, what would that be?
Well, I think that would have been oboe. I do play guitar, that's my main instrument, and I do play piano and I sing. And those, of course, are instruments that are very much useful and practiced in a music therapy profession. But I always dreamt about playing the oboe. And that's an instrument you couldn't learn in the village where I grew up. It was too classical, it was too far out. But I could have started later on. I haven't, though.
It's a beautiful instrument.
Yes, I think so.
Difficult, I imagine, to learn, but very beautiful.
I love the sound of it. Very special.
It is excellent. I also really like the English horn. They're sort of similarly related.
But that has a different type of blowing, doesn't it? It's, I don't know how you say that in English, but the English horn is more like does it have that?
The reed.
Is it?
I think so.
Yes.
I'm a string player here, so I'm not as familiar. But yeah. Those are excellent. But wonderful to hear that that you play piano, guitar. Always fantastic.
Very useful, I think. It's very useful in music therapy to play an instrument where you can accompany others from playing and singing, and do it by ear, I think, in music therapy. And I love to do that by ear.
So this is a similar type of question, but if you could do any other creative pursuit other than what you do, other than music therapy, what would you do? Like, what would you try?
I would do pottery.
Ooh, nice.
I like to create and make things with my bare hands. And that's what I dream to do when I'm, stuck with reflective work. I really long for doing that type of creative work. And I love, how do you say, everyday art.
Mm-hmm.
I really think of, every day as an artistic challenge. Every morning when I wake up, I sense, it's going to be a creative day, and I'm going to see something beautiful. I'm going to play with that in my thoughts. I'm going to, just looking in the disher, I think is beautiful. Looking at all the colors and cups and And also kind of, people laugh at me because I love to make small kitchen cloths. I knit them.
Oh, nice.
And I have a little private or personal agenda to knit one to everyone I think of in terms of, if they're meaning something special for me in my life. So I hand over a cloth to them.
Well, that's wonderful.
I can wipe their tables in the morning and think of me.
There you go. But pottery and knitting, yeah, they're so textural and tactile. I love that. Mm-hmm. Do you throw pottery currently, or is that something you want to eventually do?
My husband bought me actually a pottery wheel. So I'm struggling now to center the clay, and I'm using a lot of time just to try that out. But in the future, I hope to get time to really, professionalize it, or not professionalize it, but just getting more skilled.
I remember taking a pottery class in high school, and it is much harder than they make it seem in movies and television.
It sure is. It's lovely though. It's wonderful. Throw around clay and be dirty and yeah.
Yes. It is a wonderful way to just create in this whole new style.
Yes.
So back to a few other music questions. What is the biggest sector of music therapy and music therapy research, other than what you're already doing, that you're curious about right now?
The dementia is, of course, as you said, it's a huge challenge for the society and for the world today and in the close future. But another sector that is growing in terms of music therapy in Norway, I think, is the addiction and mental health. We combine them because they're often combined here. I hope that the future will have great research in that area so that we can move on and get professional positions, jobs. But I really think that that's one of the sectors, and there are probably others as well. And mental health, of course, is a huge area. There are lots of different varieties of challenges within that area, but it seems like the society is very occupied with mental health now and trying kind of upgrading it to letting it out and being open about it. And I think music therapy has been involved in that sector for a long time, but in terms of research and also jobs, it's still small. So I think for the future, that will be one of the biggest opportunities for music therapy. The medical sector is already quite developed, but there's a lot of areas within that, or fields within the medical sector too, that will be developed and is in progress already, I think.
I would agree. It seems for sure that the mental health, people are talking about it more out in the open. People are more comfortable with saying, hey, I see someone, and here's how great it's working for me, things like that, and removing the stigma so that other people can feel more comfortable with getting the help they need. And whether it's from a traditional therapist or a music therapist, or even something like going to occupational therapy, anything of that nature that someone would need to better themselves.
There's also an aspect of that field, mental health, that I don't know if you have that discussion in US, but here in Europe and certainly in the Nordic countries, it seems like it's becoming a trend, or it's becoming popular even, to say that you have a mental health challenge, and that you're kind of advertising yourself and your pop music career. How do you say, presenting your life and your mental health challenge and the music as a way to solve that, and gaining an identity within having a challenge. So there's a lot of discussion here now that are we kind of mixing things now? Is there, life can be painful, and not all of it is an illness, and it's not a mental health challenge necessarily, but it's becoming part of our everyday language, and people are a bit getting confused about it. So it seems like it's becoming a normal thing to say that you have a mental health problem, but in reality you're just struggling with your life, and as in the perspective of normal struggles, it's normal to feel pain if you break up with your boyfriend, and if you lose somebody in your closest family. There are processes that you have to go through. So we're talking now about separating these things. What is life pain and what is mental health challenges?
Yes. I'm not like outwardly looking to find those examples in my daily life, but I do think there is a trend like you've seen there. People are maybe, as you say, confusing or weaving those together a little bit more nowadays.
Yeah, there is a level of when it becomes pathogenic. Yeah, so when it crosses a line, when you really need help. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that that people who suffer from mental health challenges, they should be respected and everything. And there is a definition challenge here, mm-hmm. within that big perspective, and it's becoming part of our daily life, and people get confused, I think.
Yes.
By being sad, they think they have a mental health challenge.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly important for people to clearly understand, the definitions of things, and to be able to navigate what they need versus like if that, depending on what's happening in their lives. And yeah, I agree. It does seem that it may be a little harder for people to navigate what they need and get the help that they need if some things are sort of made to be bigger than they are in some aspects.
Yeah, and language creates people too. Mm-hmm. And language changes all the time. So the way we speak about things, it also affects us. So, and I just wanted to mention this because in the perspective of music therapy, these are things that need to be sorted in a way. So that you don't overtreat people or undertreat, if you can use those words, yeah.
Yes. We certainly don't want to put a Band-Aid where someone needs a surgery, for example. Mm-hmm. Another sort of serious question is, how has the current situation affected you and your creative process, and how things are going in music therapy, for better or worse?
There are several ways it has affected me professionally. It's been a struggle because I'm leading the Norwegian partner in that big project called Homeside about dementia, music, and reading. So we were actually meaning to approach people at home in their homes and we couldn't, of course. So we transferred to an online delivery. And so that was quite a lot of struggle with that, but it's working well. So that's fine now. And it's something else, but we're learning from that. There are positive sides of that, and there are also some challenging parts with that. But I feel very privileged because I live in a country like Norway, and I have a regular salary. And I didn't have to worry about that during the pandemic. And I stayed at home and did all the work at home. I did just as much work, but I stayed at home, and it gave me a chance to personally to concentrate in another way than I had before. So for me, it was also an opportunity to kind of contain and collect myself and look closer to my own life and the whole world, and kind of be mindful of my own situation and the situation in the world. That doesn't mean that I don't feel sad and sorry for everyone who has had, where the pandemic has been very stressful and really tragic as well. In Norway, we have dealt with it in I think a very, very good way, and I'm very proud of my state and my Prime Minister, who has solved it very well. We haven't had many deaths and everything. So on a national level, I feel very proud and at ease with that as well. So I think that my situation, personal situation, and being a citizen of Norway, and also being a director of this project and the center and everything, I feel very privileged. So it hasn't damaged me very much. It has changed my way of seeing life and seeing music therapy and the project and everything. But that is also productive, I think.
That's good. Yeah, that makes sense. Whenever there's trials in our lives, we have the opportunity to learn from it and grow. Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing about that. I was wondering, what is one piece of music that has held a lot of meaning for you, either as a musician or as a music therapist? Like, if you could only pick one.
Just to pick one, I think I need to say the Psalm Symphony by Stravinsky. I don't know really why it struck me so hard when I first heard that. And that's the part where the choir comes in. But I was a music student then, and the teacher just put on that music and had a very short introduction, and I just had a very bodily reaction to it. And I still can feel it when I talk about it. I don't know what it did, but it just, the power of the whole sensation of the whole thing right there. It probably just lasted 10 seconds or something, but it's still with me. And it still gives me that physical reaction when I think about it, just thinking about it. So if I have to pick just one piece of music, and it could just be those three measures in that symphony. That's how powerful it can be sometimes.
Yes, very much so. Sometimes I listen to a piece of music or a song just for a few chord changes. There's just so much power and things that we're drawn to. And Stravinsky was just phenomenal.
Yes, he is. I say he is still, because his music lives on.
True. And that actually brings me to another question is, if you could have dinner with any creative person, living or dead, who would it be?
Well, that would be Mikhail Bakhtin, the philosopher, the Russian philosopher, who he's not living. He died in 1975. But he's the great dialogue philosopher, whom I've studied him and written about him. But my meetings with him and my conversations with him are still ongoing and endless. And I would have loved to talk to him directly over lunch or something, asked him about his ideas and told him how those ideas have affected me and my thinking and my being, actually.
That's lovely. It's amazing how powerful another creative person can touch our lives, and they may never know sometimes.
Yes, that's true.
What are some of the best resources you can recommend for music therapists, whether it's a book or a website? What are some things that you think are always great resources, no matter what?
I think if you think of people who do not know music therapy and are interested and curious about music therapy, I think I would look into YouTube first and look for some of those Lord of Robbins YouTube videos. Those are excellent examples of what music therapy can be about. And I think music therapy is most music therapy when it happens in practice. So if you want to get a sense of it, a feel of it, look at those videos and then add some books after that. If I should mention a book, maybe just, I think Defining Music Therapy by Ken Brusha is, everybody should just read that. And his way of presenting and communicating is very clear and, can be read from everybody, I think, but also can be understood on many levels also. So, but I'm Norwegian, so I would introduce people to Norwegian books if they're Norwegian. But as an international community, I would, suggest that book and also Gary Anstall's Music for Life. I think those are kind of, good general books. But look at those videos, check them out, and make sure there are qualified music therapists in them.
Yes, I remember doing something similar right before I was applying to music therapy schools, looking up YouTube videos and really trying to see what it was all about. And I was just so touched. And I was like, I have to get in and do all of this. I must do this, What is a favorite memory of your time as a music therapy student, or even one as a professional, like a favorite memory?
Professionally, I've worked with children for 20 years, and there are some of those kids' stories throughout the music therapy process that I really keep close to my heart. So I think there are about 2 or 3 kids that I had in music therapy that I still think of every now and then, and everything that happened. I really love them, and they have, empowered me and really educated me as a person and as a music therapist. Music therapy is quite complex, and it's you never stop growing if you are engaged in it, and it's hard to understand everything. So I think it's important to get a sense of it first. That's why I said the videos. Mm-hmm. You get a feeling of that you kind of you get moved by it. It's a beautiful profession. It's a beautiful field, and it's a beautiful phenomenon, I think. And it will still expand and grow in the future for the whole world. But being in it, I'm still amazed by the beauty of it and the whole, how it still grows in me and educates me.
Yes. I can completely understand. It's such a wonderful field that we're in, and I feel so grateful to be in a field where we're never going to stagnate. We're always going to become better and learn more.
It's part of the complexity to not understand the whole thing. So I don't think that we will ever understand everything. And that will be also not so meaningful, part of it, the chaos or the irrational aspects of it, which you can often see in music therapy improvisation, where you have to be intuitive and act in the here and now. It's very rich, and we will never, have one definition, I think, of the whole thing, but that's the beauty of it as well. So just facing it and exploring and trying to understand is what, for me, this is about. So what you can verbally express about it is just half of the truth of it, not even half of it, maybe, but that's that's the sense of art also in it. Yeah, to play along, explore, and indulge in the moment. Yeah, it takes a lot of skills and all that. And it doesn't mean that we're not, not using our professional skills, because you need all that backpack when you enter into music therapy. Bring it with you into the situation. But the art of it is to carry that rucksack and still and simultaneously forget it in the moment, but know that you have it there, and then dwell into it. And that's where the music, and the here and now and everything comes in. I'm a little lost with words in English, but this is, I'm very much amazed by or interested in the improvisational part.
Oh, that's excellent, though. I love, that's one of my favorite aspects about music therapy is, being there, present in the here and now during an improvisation and song or songwriting, and just sort of giving your mind and over to the music, just sort of surrendering to the music, so to speak, and not thinking about everything and just letting the music happen.
Letting go, but not forget what you
Yes.
know. Yes. Yeah, that's the energy. That's where the energy comes in.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that you use a lot of improvisation lately?
Well, now I'm doing a lot of research and I'm doing a lot of leadership things. I really think that I am using my improvisational skills in every meeting with another human being, in every task that you have to solve, whether it is a research project or something else, in teaching. If you're mindful about improvisation and have done a lot of reflection about it, you realize these are skills you need, for everything in life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I tend to think about it and reflect upon it. I like to think about it and reflect upon it. I think it's meaningful for me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. But very true. It's very true. Those skills are so transferable to everything that we do.
You have to tune to people and you have to understand or get a good sense of the here and now, and also be open to that the here and now also has some doubts and it's not exactly the same here and now, and although it's similar to something else you have experienced before. So there are all these, elements of dynamics in it. And if you are mindful about it, it can be used in a productive way in your work, especially in relation to other people and relationships, and also meetings, thinking in terms of a group dynamic. And not that I do that all the time, but it's part of me now. So I'm using it. And I often think of many personal processes in terms of musical dynamics. It has tempo, attunement, harmony, disharmony. I'm lost in philosophy, I think. That's why.
No, that's okay. I love that. I loved learning about that in school, and it's something that I definitely want to learn more about personally. So fascinating and so affecting. So a few more questions. One is, what is something you wish you had known when you first started on your career path?
I wish that I would be better to separate work and private life. And it hasn't been possible, when you're in this journey of developing the music therapy profession. It's hard to jump off. You have to, keep on working all the time. And I see that a lot of my colleagues around the whole world, they're using all of their time on music therapy and research and music therapy programs. I'm not speaking on behalf of everyone, but I feel that there is, the love for the field is creating some responsibility in me. So I think I don't know if that's, a good answer, but there isn't much that I didn't know before that I don't like now in terms of therapy knowledge, skills, or anything like that. It's more the personal aspect of being on this wonderful journey that is quite exhausting. At the same time, that is beautiful. So I'm working on that now, though. So.
And that makes sense, though. You know, when you have such a passion for something, it's hard to say, okay, it's time to stop doing this and have dinner now. You know, it's hard to do that sometimes. So one last question is, what does living a creative life mean to you?
That's a lovely question, actually. For me, being creative is being human. So to keep up the interest for creativity in general is also for me being creative. Not just keep the interest, but also doing, you know, or sensing or thinking about life as a creative way of being. So as I said in the beginning, just, you know, when I look at the dishwasher, I kind of create, you know, small pieces of art inside the dishwasher where I put the different cups and the colors, how I put them together, and, you know, the knitting. And every day when I, you know, looking outside and the nature, when I walk my dog, I see compositions of colors, and can be just very practical things, looking at something on the street and how it looks as a contrast to the background. So it's kind of being conscious, maybe in a creative sense, a way of being. So using my senses, my sight, my hearing and taste, tactile and sense and balance, everything, you know, it doesn't go one day where I don't think of those things, you know, and I'm conscious about it, mindful about it. This is beautiful. I love this, to see this. And I kind of, you know, create small projects during the day. And then it's the bigger things. I go to concerts and, you know, going, just reflecting. I think writing is also a very creative work. I think of it as in terms of drama and creating dramaturgies, how do you say, and using these narrative curves for everything that I write and also play and also sense and perceive during the day. I create small dramas every time, you know, every minute. And I live with the husband who does the same thing. So we do talk a lot together about these small creative processes and pictures, metaphors, everything you see. So for me, that is creativity and being, living in it, being creative every moment. Now it sounds like I'm being very artificial, but this is something I think of, you know, I think we're all more or less conscious about these things and think in terms of art, but maybe not so specifically as I talk of now.
I think it's wonderful, and it sounds like you have a very healthy mindset regarding creativity and slowing down and appreciating everything in life, from the little things to the big things. So that's wonderful. Wonderful to hear.
Yeah, it's a lovely question. I did listen to Claire Getty's podcast, and I think that was very interesting what she said, that she was looking at or thinking of creativity in terms of challenges. And I think that's true for me too. So what I'm saying now is kind of that the world and the nature outside there is, you know, challenging me to put things together, colors and forms and everything. And if I don't look at it that way, I think I might die in a way. And that's what she said too, that if we stop being creative, you know, then it's not meaningful anymore. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is a very, you know, for me, a way of being a human being. I think we're put together in this sense. And that's also why music therapy works, and that you have to be open in terms of improvising and taking in the here and now. And there might be other, you know, creative aspects in one here and now compared to another. I love that question. So we could, you know, have a whole podcast just talking about that part, that question, I think.
Yes, yes. That's actually one of my favorite questions to ask, and it's just been amazing to hear the variety and depth of the answers and the similarities as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Karette, for being on the show. And listeners, check out the show notes to learn more about music therapy, both in Norway and around the world. Until next time, have a good one. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Like the show? Have a question? Stop by the Facebook and Instagram pages. Links are in the show notes, or search for Creative Piecemeal Podcast on social media and click follow for all the latest.